A lot of topics that we could have talked about post Blueprint. We're kind of through talking about the values and some of the things we're going to choose, right? Some of the things we're going to make our decisions based on, like what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. That's all Blueprint and the values and the code. And if you haven't seen the code, it's beautifully hung up on the wall by the cafe. Give it up for Calvin and Joel for that. Look at how beautiful that code is. Also, Jenny Hopper for the design team on that. So thank you to her for designing it. But a lot of topics we could have discussed coming right out of now. We talked about the values, like what do we want to talk about? And we kind of sat around and thought maybe we should talk about like God specifically. Like that's a good topic to talk about. And specifically our God who's named Yahweh. And really that's kind of where we kind of came to this point of, if you see the series graphic, it's Yahweh. And that's how you put, well, we'll talk about that in a second. But really talking about the idea that God even has a name. Did you know that? Did you know that God actually gave us his name, and his name is Yahweh? You know, like a lot of gods have names, and it's funny, I think in American culture, we kind of have just capitalized on the word God. Like we literally just did the capital G-O-D, and then we're like, that's us, we're the capital one. But everybody else, like, has gods. Like everybody, you know, like the Muslims have a God, his name is Allah. Romans had a God, especially in the Eastern Jewish time, they named him Apollo, you know, or Jupiter. They had a lot of gods, but Apollo was one of their main gods. The Greeks had a god, his name was Zeus. You know, Marvel had a god, his name's Thor. You know, everybody, you know, that's my favorite one. But we have a God, and he just said, don't put any other gods before me. But here's my name. He let us in on his name, and he let us in on his name in Exodus chapter 3. He told Moses his name for the first time. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob didn't get to know his name. He said, I'm coming a little bit closer. It's going to be a little more intimate from this way out, and I want to let you in on my name. And it's found in Exodus chapter 3, but you could check out the story. Let's watch it right here.
For thousands of years, every morning and evening, Jewish people have prayed these well-known words as a way of expressing their devotion to God. They're called the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. And as for you, you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. We're going to look at the second key word here. Lord, written in all capital letters. This is the personal name of Israel's God. We first learn the meaning of this name in the story of Moses and the burning bush in the book of Exodus chapter 3. God appears to Moses and he commissions him to liberate the Israelites from slavery. And so Moses wonders, what if people ask the name of the God who has sent me? And so God responds, tell them, Ehyeh has sent me to you. Now, that Hebrew word Ehyeh means I will be. In other words, God's name means that he is the one who is and who will be. God's existence doesn't depend on anyone or anything else. This God simply is. But it will sound kind of strange for Moses to go say to the Israelites, I will be has sent me to you. Only God can say, I will be. So in the next sentence, God tells Moses the version he should say aloud. Yahweh, the God of our ancestors, he has sent me to you. Now, that word Yahweh is the ancient Hebrew form of the verb he will be. And this is the personal name of the God of Israel. It appears over 6,500 times in the Old Testament.
Isn't that crazy? He will be. So that's the name we're given. And later, honestly, out of reverence, like if you track the name of Yahweh, there's so much reverence given to it in the Jewish culture that they kept translating it. So it went from Elohim and then to Adonai, and even at one point where we get this from is the YHWH, because they're like, we won't even really say Yahweh, so we're going to strip it of its vowels, and they would make 4 pronunciated kind of sounds. It would sound like Yud, He, Vav, He. And the idea even literally meaning, like, just by saying his name, we want to be under the understanding that we have to pause for each moment and reflect on the magnificence and the magnitude of the creator of who we're talking about. That's pretty wild, right? Like now we're just like, God. No, okay. But they would take time and they would be reverenced. But even just thinking about the name, that God gave us this name and it meant I will be. And if we could just translate it for a second into our personal lives for a second, or let's actually, before I even do that transliteration, what if we just look at what Moses is about to walk into, right? Moses is about to go tell a bunch of Israelites who are in what? In slavery, that he will be set me. What do you mean he will be? Meaning, what are we about to walk through? We're about to walk through a bunch of plagues. Then we're about to get in front of a sea. Egyptian army about to crash down on us. Then we're going to split the sea. Then we're going to walk through the sea. Then we're going to get to the other side. We're going to celebrate. Then we're going to find out we're stuck there for 40 years. Then we're going to go through another sea. Then we're going to have to walk around some stuff because there's some giants and armies that look too big and scare us. And what did God want them to know before they walked through any of that journey? Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? Just by his name. Can somebody say it? That he will be. That he will be. What do you mean you will be? Meaning when the armies are coming down at you, I will be. When the seas split and you're walking through them, I will be. When you get to the other side and it's celebration time, I will be. When you get to the desert and you got to wait 40 years, I will be there in your midst. When you get to the place where you got to go walk around a thing because there's a bunch of giants that look too big for you, I will be there. Listen, in your life right now, if I could preach in the 5 minutes into a message, if I'm allowed to, if I could just preach for a second, I would say right from the get-go with God's name, he wants you to know in the highest of highs, with the promotion, with the raise, when your first baby comes into place, when your marriage happens, he will be in the midst with you celebrating all along. But on the lowest of lows, when the demotion happens, when the worst of the worst happens, when the lowest of your lows happen, he will be there in your midst. That's the God that we've been given. That already is like, somebody praise Jesus right here, right now. That's already good enough. We could just wrap this down. Let's close it down. Let's get out of here. That was church. Go eat. That's amazing. But that's just his name. That's just his name. And a great question is, okay, now that we know his name, Yahweh, everybody say Yahweh. Yeah, sounds good. Who is he? Who is Yahweh? And to begin that conversation, I thought a great place to start would be going all the way back to the beginning of our canonized scripture, which is Genesis chapter 1. And Genesis 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, God. And I just want to pause for a second. Because sometimes we're so eager to jump into the next word, right? We want to get to the next word. In the beginning, God, what? In the beginning, God, what? In the beginning, God, what? Well, tell me, right? It's like we jump. It's like, you ever gone and welcomed a new baby? You ever went to a hospital and welcomed a new baby? Could you imagine going into that place and sitting in that hospital room, or when you walk in, instead of, you don't marvel at the baby at all, right? Before you tell the lies about that it's actually, before you tell the lies and say it's cute, you know what I mean? Before you're like, oh, it looks just like you. No, it doesn't look like a packed up sardine. Just came out of 9 months of water. It's all jacked up. It ain't cute and don't look like. And in fact, if you say look like me, how dare you? How dare you? Get behind me. That's horrible. That's just cruel. This is punishment right there. So anyway, but imagine before you get to there. Imagine if you just walked in. You walk in the door. You're like, what's it going to be? What do you mean? Like its name? No. What's its profession going to be? What do you mean? What's it going to do in life? Whoa. Wait. Just look at the baby. Just marvel at its existence for a second. No. I need to know what it will do, how much it will make, how many hours it will work per week, and most importantly, I'd like to know what it's going to do for me. What? Hold on, somebody. But see, because you're like, I would never do that to a baby, but we do that to God all the time. We do that to Yahweh all the time. We don't even, half of us didn't know his name till right now. You bypassed the name question. You're like, I don't even know his name. What's he going to do for me? How much you going to work for me? Who are you? He's like, whoa, I'm the one asking questions around here. Look at what if before we get there, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God, what if we just reason with the fact that Yahweh is? Yahweh is. Can we stop and pause for a second and understand that Yahweh is. He exists outside of our domain. This is before the creation. He exists beyond our time continuum. He exists before this world existed. He was. He is currently, and long after, when this world ceases to exist, he will be. That's worthy of praise right there. Is anybody in the house thinking that's worthy of praise? Anybody in the whole house? In the whole house. Because beyond our understanding or ability to conceptualize what or who this being is, Yahweh is, and that's worthy of praise alone. But let's keep reading, because there is more. And we do get to ask good questions like, well, what will they become? With eagerness in our eyes, right? So with eagerness in our eyes, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. So the next thing we learn, the first characteristic actually we learn about Yahweh is Yahweh just is, right? Woo, say that. Yahweh is creator. Yahweh is, and Yahweh is creator. And I think we have just forgotten. We have left the map of the world as far as how extravagant and worthy of praise he is just for being creator. Like if we just imagine, let's just take it down a notch and use our cheat codes to try to do something with this, right? So I'm going to cheat code this thing and just imagine like he only created earth for a second. Just earth. He gave us earth. Imagine that. We haven't been able to explore the depths of the seas or the caves, nor have we yet to explore the land that Yahweh created. In fact, the tallest mountain on earth is 33,500 feet. The deepest canyon is 36,201 feet. We can't even really wrap our heads around that. So let me just say that out of 8 billion people and a couple thousand years of infrastructure planning, we've gotten up to 2,717 in our tallest building. That's our collective species all going to work trying to construct the tallest thing we can is 2,717. To put that into the, we still have almost 6 miles to go to reach the tallest mountain. That's just on earth. Just on earth. There are cave systems which scientists believe to be over 600 miles long. And why does it say, as I was researching for this, it says, as I was researching for this, the article said they believe it. Why? Because they haven't been able to get there. There's certain nooks and crannies that they can't get past. All they know is it keeps stretching out, but they can't get there yet. We haven't even explored the planet yet. This is only mind-blowing to me. Okay. That's all right. The tallest waterfall, which is higher than the largest building, by the way, that's on earth, is at 3,212 feet high. Just a waterfall. 500 feet more than the tallest building we built. The tallest tree in the California forest, a redwood, right, which is twice as tall as the Statue of Liberty at 379 feet high. But we have this one building that we built wrongly and it leans. You know what I mean? We have that going for it. We did that. And also, you should talk to us about walls because we built a good one. That was the China one. Oh, that one's not good either. Okay, wait, I'm moving on. Scientists actually, this one's mind-blowing. This one wrapped my head. Scientists believe there are thousands more stars than there are grains of sand on our beaches. Thousands more. And yet, the number of water molecules in just 10 regular-sized drops of water, the molecules in 10 drops of water is believed to be equal to all the stars in the known universe. Someone's like, yeah, aneurysm. That happened. We forget that we haven't even been able to explore our entire planet yet. What we've done in comparison is of little to nothing in comparison to what God did. And the way the stories are told, by the way, are like, it's seemingly in the snap of his finger. And yet we're like doing everything we can with 8 billion of us in a collective species to do something that equals something of like relevance. And it's not comparable. And that's just if we cheated and used earth. But when the writers of Genesis began to talk about the heavens, because it says he created the heavens and the earth, when they start to write about the heavens, they start to talk about the sun, the moon, the stars. And so what we're led to believe in Genesis is that he was the creation of all that we know, the creator of all that we know that is. And I think it's just far too long. Maybe it's been far too long for you since you've looked at all that we know that is to this point. So I would love for us to just sit and reflect on this for a minute. Check this out. After watching, like in talks of Yahweh, I would contend that we've forgotten or misplaced just the extent of his ability to create. Am I the only one? Am I the only one? It's incredible. It's awe-inspiring. It should leave our jaws wide open, hitting the floor, just like, what? We can't compute, right? And that's incredible in and of itself. But I love in Genesis 1:2, it says, because to me it gets even better. It gets even better because it says, now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. There's two things right there. Number one is it was out of nothing. Nothing. Darkness, void, emptiness, formless. And this God named Yahweh shows up and goes, I got a plan. Woo! If somebody didn't just get spoke to right there in this moment, y'all dead. Hello. Somebody in here, maybe you've got something in your life right now that you're feeling so dark. You're feeling so empty. You might feel without form, like there's no narrative being written right now. There's just pain. There's just existence. But there is a God right here that out of nothing came and said, I want to speak life. I want to speak light. I want to speak hope. I want to breathe forth something out of nothing. And I believe right here, right now, I believe that Yahweh from the beginning of the story wanted to get something clear to us. Even some thousands of years later, he wanted you to know that he doesn't just love you, he cares about you, but that he has the ability to create out of nothing. So when you feel like there's nothing, when you feel like there's a mess, when you feel like there's darkness, not only is he not distant, he hovers right over it. He gets right in the mess with it, and he goes, I can create, I can make, if you just give me it. Come on, let's do something together. That's the story. That's the creation story that we find in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, which are the two accounts of creation, by the way. Two separate accounts of creation right back to back. And here's the beautiful point, is that it wasn't just about Yahweh is, and it was all about Yahweh is, and it was all about Yahweh is creator. But there was one more thing that these stories were meant to reveal to us. One more beautiful thing. And you see, oftentimes, we get so hung up on the how that we miss the third piece. We're like, it wasn't sick. It wasn't sick. Was it a thought? Who, where? And we'll create a whole nother denomination over it. And it wasn't even the point. The point was so that you knew twofold. Number one, Yahweh is, and Yahweh is the creator of all that is. There it is. And then if we could get past that now, if we go, oh my God, literally, Yahweh, you are, and you are the creator of all that is. Then Genesis 1, 26 through 31 shows up. And it says, then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea, and the birds in the sky, over the livestock, and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created humankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I'll give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning. You see, God could have had it all, right? And he was the creator of all that is. You can start playing at any point in time, whenever you get. Look at that. Woo! But there was still one other huge emphasis on these Genesis stories, which was Yahweh loves us. You can stand with me. Yahweh loves us. Yahweh loves us. Yahweh's going to be, and he's going to be creator of all that is. And what's he going to do with all this creation? What's he going to do with it? He gave it to us to provide for us, to celebrate with us, to relish in, to enjoy, to have pleasure, to enjoy every single thing he created. He goes, oh yeah, by the way, all the things that I've created is for you. Explore, have fun, adventure, enjoy. I just want relationship with you. What? It was enough. If it wasn't enough for somebody when you're watching that video, if it wasn't enough for you, then you're serving something else. I don't even know. But it was already enough that you were. It was already enough that you were creator. How much more so that you said, hey, I want all that, but I want to do it with you. I want relationship with you. And I'm choosing you to be the entity that I have relationship with, that I walk in the garden with, that I talk with, that I hang out with, that I have fun with, that I enjoy all that this creation is with you as the supreme creation. Come on, where are you? Come on, come on, come on. Come on. I don't know, I'm like, were you waiting for something more exciting? I don't know what you're waiting for. This is exciting. This is incredible. This is awe-inspiring. I love this. He goes, watch the creation that I put in you. When was the last time even that you stood maybe in front of a mirror somewhere and said, wow, God created this? We could talk, we could zoom out to the universe and we could zoom out to the earth, but then what about the skin? What about these bones? What about the creation of even me? Did you know this? The femur bone, bring it down just a notch, and then you can come back up with me when I go up. So you're gonna kill my throat right here if you don't let me ride it. The femur bone is 4 times stronger than concrete. It's said to be able to withstand 19,000 pounds of pressure. On an average day, your eye muscle moves 100,000 times. Some of us are like, oh, that's why I got anxiety. Okay. It's just the eye muscle. There are about 7 octillion atoms in a human body. We ain't gonna do that. That's 9 sets of zeros. There are 86 billion neurons in an average human brain. How about this one? Every second, your body produces 25 million new cells. That means in 15 seconds, you'll have produced more cells than there are people in the United States. Your body's doing that right now. There are more than 100,000 miles of blood vessels in your body. If they were taken out and laid end to end, they would be long enough to travel around the earth 3 times over. And here's the point. Here's the thing. I love it. Because Jesus said it this way, if you won't cry out, then the rocks will. And I think it was because it's like, if your creation, you as a creation, won't cry out to your creator, then the rocks will. Then the highest of mountains that stand over 33,000 feet, they'll start to cry out. Then the deepest of canyons that go down to 35,000 feet, they'll start to cry out. Or how about the wind as fast as 235 miles per hour? That'll make some noise for him. Or what about the whales, which can be heard 600 miles away? Or the stars in our universe, which outnumber the grains of sand on our beaches? Or the echo of the longest cave systems? Or the roar of the tallest waterfalls? Or the outstretched praise from the tallest known trees? Or how about just the sound that this earth must make as it travels 67,000 miles per hour through this universe, racing back and forth, screaming out the praise of the Father? Because if He will be, then so will I. If He's gonna be there at my highest of highs, if He's gonna be there during the lowest of lows, if He's gonna be there when they cease to exist, then so will I cry out. I cry out with the mountains, I cry out with the valleys, I cry out with the trees, I cry out with the rocks. As one echo of creation to another, I will praise His name.
There at the start, before the beginning of time, with no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of life. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. The vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. I can see you on in everything you made. Every burning star, a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. So will I. I sing your praises with every breath that you give me, Lord. Every breath I will praise. If the stars are made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind comes when you send it, so will I. The rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sum of all our praises still falls shine, we'll sing again 100 billion times.
Thank you, Yahweh. Woo! Thank you. God, I thank you. I thank you for this moment. Thank you, Yahweh, for giving us your name, for coming close, for hovering, even in the midst of our darkness, our death, that you do not leave us, but you move closer in hopes of furthering life within us. Thank you for being. Thank you for being creator. Thank you for choosing to love us with it. I thank you for that in Jesus' name. Everybody said, amen. Amen. Hey, Yahweh is creator, and Yahweh loves us. One thing I'd love for you to do this week, a little homework assignment, if you would. Go find something. Maybe it's a spot in nature. Maybe it's a couple of more of these videos. Maybe if it's as you're driving down the highway, just look to your left and right. Just take in a little bit more of his creation, his ability to create, and his love for you in the midst of that. It's awe-inspiring. It's mesmerizing. I would encourage you to lean into that this week and next week. As Yahweh is, and Yahweh is creator, and Yahweh loves us. If that's not worthy enough of all the praise in the world, just wait until you come back next week and find out how he chose to reveal himself most. It's even more. We'll see you next week for week 2.